From our free daily newsletter, the latest from podnews.net with Spots Now. Podcasts are becoming multi-platform, audio, video, short form, social and newsletters, and audiences are switching between them. That's one of the findings of a new piece of research called the Podcast Atlas by Sounds Profitable, which gets covered in a free webinar this Wednesday. The data also covers the benefits of podcast newsletters, which create direct, owned relationships, they say, that are independent of platform algorithms. Among newsletter subscribers, 87% said podcast newsletters lead them to listen to episodes. We also learned that audio and video listeners demonstrated nearly identical episode completion rates. The winners of the Scottish Podcast Awards were announced. The podcast of the year went to comedy show The Ford and Shelby Show. You'll find a full list in our newsletter, linked from our show notes today. iHeartMedia announced an expanded relationship with Amazon Ads. iHeartMedia customers can now leverage Amazon DSP. iHeart is also a local reseller of its audio and video inventory. From podcast producers Collision Productions, Castly has launched a tool that turns a podcast RSS feed into a podcast website. The French service charges €9.99 a month, which is about $11.50. There's a free tier, and you can see how it looks for your podcast almost instantly. In the US, cable news network MS Now is to expand the amount of podcasts that it airs on weekend evenings. The move will lead to job cuts, including the departure of the network's longest-serving anchor, Alex Witt, who's been on the channel, formerly known as MSNBC, since 1999. Pocket Casts has had a liquid glass visual update for iOS users. The app has used more Apple controls for consistency on the platform, and for iOS and Android, transcripts generated by Pocket Casts now highlight each sentence as it plays. And should your podcast hobby become a business? Is there a benefit of becoming a business? Yes, there is. And is it worth bringing in a professional to help? Yes, probably, although it's a professional saying so. Ralph Estep Jr. explains for the US market in a new blog post that we link to today. And it's a Monday, so time for some tech stuff normally, but it'll be published tomorrow, owing to some tech stuff of our own today. But in podcast news, you say, the price of my love's not a price that you're willing to pay. You cry in your tea, which you hurled in the sea when you see me go by. As America prepares to celebrate Independence Day and its 250th birthday, Calaroga Shark Media's Palace Intrigue looks at the American Revolution through the lens of the British royal family. What did King George III think was happening in America? How did the Declaration of Independence look from inside the palace? And perhaps most intriguingly, how did a nation founded in rebellion against a king become fascinated by the royal family centuries later? And in Podbiz this week, Liam Heffernan from Mercury Podcast Network shares why the real money in podcasting lies in community over vanity metrics, details his unique journey from banking to building an independent podcast network, and discusses the launch of Independent Podcasters Day to champion indie creators. And this podcast is sponsored by Spots Now. If you're quick, you can get Spots Now's Claude and ChatGPT connector to trial for free. You can ask your AI anything about podcast advertising in plain language right inside Claude or ChatGPT. It's designed from the ground up for podcast advertising workflows and strategic sales and buying questions to give you a competitive advantage. Now, you won't be able to use Spots Now for free after July the 22nd, so you want to start testing it out today. If you're curious about how the latest AI can work for your business, you can connect for free while you can in 60 seconds at spotsnow.io/intelligence, or click on the link in our show notes. And that's the latest from our newsletter. To read all the stories and subscribe for free, we're at podnews.net.